She was just a delivery girl until 9 programmers were exposed in front of the CEO, an incredible twist that would change everything. It started as just another ordinary day for Mia Thompson, the 24-year-old pizza delivery girl who bustled through the busy streets of a suburban town, filled with hopes and dreams to become a web developer. The sun blazed overhead, casting a warm glow on her determined face as she zipped from one job to the next. The sorting of orders became second nature. Yet, the weight of economic inequality nagged at her, the disdainful looks from others who saw her job as a failure stung. But Mia was stronger than their judgments. She had been raised by a fierce single mother, an Army veteran whose grit instilled resilience in her every day. Today was special. She had a delivery lined up for a sleek tech firm, a place where dreams and innovation collided. But as she entered the glass doors, she noticed the tension in the air. 9 programmers crowded around a table, their voices rising and falling like an angry tide. Words like profit and ideal surged through her ears. The reality of their unethical conversations hit her hard. They were discussing ways to manipulate user data to boost their bottom line. The CEO waltzed in, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. Mia's heart raced, and her stomach churned as she caught snippets of their plan. A knot formed her chest. Should she say something? The fear of losing her precarious job loomed over her, but her moral compass guided her deep down. She thought of all the nights spent hunched over her laptop, studying code until her eyes felt heavy, and her mother's unwavering assurance echoing in her mind. You can be anything you want, Mia. Hey, what do you know about coding anyway? One of the programmers snapped, noticing her hovering near the doorway. The others laughed, their condescending looks slicing into her confidence like razors. The laughter reverberated around the room, stark and biting. But beneath the taunts, she could feel the sting of their prejudice, a reflection of society that often cast aside people like her. The chaos of emotions. Mia closed her eyes momentarily, recalling her mother's sacrifices for her to have a chance at a better life. She felt a swell of determination. She wasn't just a delivery girl. She was a fighter, a burgeoning developer in a town that didn't care to notice her talents. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach seriously. It makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mia stepped forward, a fire igniting inside her. You can't just hurt people for profit, she exclaimed. Silence fell, thick as a blanket. The programmers stared, mouths agape, and for a split second, the tensed atmosphere shifted. Could she really expose something that could change their lives forever? She was standing at the edge of something monumental. The CEO turned slowly, sensing the commotion. Mia's heartbeat thundered in her ears. What would she do? Fight for justice, or retreat into the shadows? Simply another voice, silenced. Staring into the eyes of the 9 programmers, she felt a surge of hope mingling with fear. The choice lay heavy before her. The walls of safety began to crumble, and in that moment, Mia realized she was on the cusp of going from obscurity to becoming a force for what was right. Would she take the leap, or remain on the sidelines haunted by her choice? Twist that would change everything forever. Mia took a deep breath, her heart still racing. The silence was deafening, and her every sense was heightened. She could feel the judgment in the eyes of the programmers, and it was almost suffocating. But at that moment, she also felt something else, strength and purpose. I'm not afraid of you, she said, her voice steadying as she squared her shoulders. The CEO's gaze fell on her, curiosity replacing initial confusion. People deserve better than this manipulation. The 9 programmers exchanged glances, some scowling, while others looked bewildered. Mia's words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Was she really doing this? Nothing had ever felt more daunting. yet she felt a rush of adrenaline. She wasn't just delivering pizza. She was delivering a warning. Who do you think you are? One of the programmers sneered, an edge of anger in his tone. A delivery girl trying to lecture us? You don't even know how this industry works. But that only fueled Mia's determination. Maybe I don't know everything, she replied, her voice firm. But I know what's right and wrong. And this is wrong. The CEO raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You have some strong opinions. Tell me, what exactly do you think we should do instead? His icy demeanor had shifted slightly, as if he was genuinely interested in her perspective. Mia looked around the room, absorbing the skeptical, confused expressions. She had to muster every ounce of courage she had. You should strive for transparency. Use your skills to build something that helps people, not harms them. You can create a platform that empowers rather than exploits. For a fleeting moment, the tension lifted. The programmers were caught off guard, their arrogance muddied by Mia's passion. It was a brief crack in their facade, an opportunity pop up like a shot of light piercing through dark clouds. The CEO leaned forward, clearly weighing her words. Interesting perspective. Sometimes it takes an outsider to point out the truth we're too embedded to see. Mia felt hope swirling inside her. Perhaps this was her chance to not only make a difference, but to prove herself. I might be the delivery girl, she said, but I know code. I've spent my evenings learning and practicing. If you've got the vision, I can help you implement it. The laughter from the programmers faded, replaced by murmurs. They exchanged wary glances, the laughter having morphed into a complex mix of curiosity and uncertainty. Don't get too confident, kid, the same programmer retorted, though his voice lacked its previous venom. You think just because you know a few lines of code, you can change an entire system? Mia met his glare with fierce resolve. I want to wait for permission to stand up for what's right. Every ounce of fear she had felt transformed into conviction. The CEO's expression softened slightly, an unspoken acknowledgement in his eyes. All right, let us hear more about your ideas, Mia. There was an electricity in the air. She could feel the shift brewing, the skepticism turning slowly into guarded curiosity. Maybe they were realizing that a delivery girl could be more than they ever expected. As Mia spoke her vision for a new product that could help local communities rather than exploit them, the atmosphere shifted again. She forged ahead, crafting her ideas with images she had painted in her mind during countless study sessions. Could this really be happening? But with every word, a new conflict arose within her. Was she stepping into something larger than she could handle? The stakes had never felt higher, and the weight of failure loomed like a shadow. The door swayed open, revealing a nervous intern who looked frozen in the doorway upon seeing the scene unfolding. I overheard, he stammered, and Mia's heart dropped. What if this reached beyond the room? What if it spurred further scrutiny? The CEO's gaze shifted to the intern, and Mia felt her stomach drop. Get in here, he commanded, a mixture of authority and curiosity piercing through the tension. Mia clenched her fists, 1,000 thoughts swirling in her mind. What was happening? Was she really prepared for the fight that lay ahead? Was she prepared to be more than just a delivery girl? As the intern stepped inside the room, Mia took a deep breath, ready for battle, whether it was in the boardroom or within herself. But the most chilling question echoed in her mind. What would she risk to change the system? Would she lose her job and everything she had worked so hard for in the name of justice? The answer lay just outside her grasp, tantalizing and terrifying. Moment that would shape everything ahead. The intern hesitated, glancing nervously between the CEO and Mia. He could feel the tension crackling in the air like static electricity. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought I think this could be important. Speak up, the CEO urged, his voice a firm command. Mia felt her heart race. This wasn't just about her anymore. They were welcoming someone else into the fold, and she had no idea if this in turn would bolster her cause or create more chaos. I overheard your ideas, the intern finally said, his voice trembling slightly. I believe in them. I've seen what these algorithms can do to people, how they're manipulated for profit. If you're serious about creating something more ethical, I'd like to help. A wave of relief washed over Mia. She wasn't alone, but the realization of how exposed she felt brought a new layer of concern. Why would you want to help? She asked, her voice a mixture of gratitude and skepticism. Because, he replied, finally stepping forward, what you're proposing could change lives. I've been here long enough to see how messed up things are. People deserve better. The programmers looked less convinced, fidgeting in their seats. One, the sneering programmer, crossed his arms defiantly and sneered again. What are you going to do? Play on your laptop? You think you and your little coding skills can just fix everything? Actually, yes, Mia shot back, her voice stronger than before. If we built something that benefits people, we could market it differently, shift our entire narrative. It's not just about programming, it's about ethics. It's about a commitment to a vision that matters. The CEO's interest peaked again. So what's the plan? Can you even back up your words with real proposals? Standing taller, Mia took a step forward. We create a platform that emphasizes user agency. Offer transparent data usage policies, prioritize data security, eliminate exploitative advertising, to name a few. Each suggestion hung in the air, almost tangible. I mean, come on. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Another programmer chimed in, skepticism lacing his voice. You really think we can just flop our entire business model? A small spark of defiance flickered deep in Mia. Why not? Isn't a better world worth the risk? The words came out stronger than she expected, resonating through the room. Another programmer leaned in, curiosity piqued. What if we lose investors? That's the risk of being on the right side of history. Mia countered, her voice unwavering. Wouldn't it be worth it to stand for something better? The CEO absorbed the atmosphere, his demeanor serious. There's a lot to consider, Mia. This isn't just a simple decision. You're asking for transformative change. Facing him, she felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. What if they said no? What if this all crashed and burned? But deep down, she believed in her words. She felt that fire again, igniting within her. Sometimes we need a nudge to realize we can create something beautiful out of chaos. The intern added, a note of hope in his voice. Mia caught the eye of the CEO, and the gravity of the moment coiled around them like a thick fog. We could break free from this cycle, the manipulation, the greed. We're more than just players in this game. We could be leaders. A long pause settled in the room before the CEO finally spoke. All right, let us see if we can turn this discussion into something actionable. Mia felt a rush of hope and terror combined. Not sure if she was ready to take the leap, but knowing she had to try. Just as energy surged in the room, a loud crash echoed from a nearby office. What now? One programmer exclaimed, eyes wide. Mia felt her breath hitch in her throat, curiosity mingling with fear. They had just opened a door to possibilities, but what would this new commotion change? She could almost taste the tension thickening in the air, the stakes rising as the room fell silent. Every eye turned toward the source of the noise. What was coming next? With her heart pounding, Mia realized they were about to find out. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the office like a gunshot, jolting everyone from their thoughts. Mia's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her. Was it a window? A computer? Whatever it was, it felt like a bad omen, just as they thought the tide was turning in their favor. The CEO, brow furrowed, stood up and strode toward the commotion, followed closely by the eager intern. Mia hesitated, lingering in the doorway, wrestling between her instinct to follow them or stay back and hold the ground she had just claimed. From her spot, she could hear muffled voices growing louder as they got closer to the office where the noise had originated. Was it just a technical mishap, or something more serious? The murmurs from the other programmers gave a different impression. They seemed anxious, glancing at each other with uncertainty. I'll check it out, she finally declared, stepping back into the fray. She could feel the weight of the moment pushing her forward. What if it was something serious? They couldn't afford to lose momentum now, especially with the CEO showing interest in her vision. As they neared the office, Mia noticed a few of the programmers exchanging worried glances, their previous doubts seeming to dissolve in the shock of the crash. She felt a sense of camaraderie with them, a bond forged by a shared journey, the risk of change, the uncertainty of the future. They were all in this together. What happened? The CEO called into the office, his voice rising above the rest. The moment stretched as if time itself was holding its breath. A disheveled programmer poked his head out, eyes wide. It's the security system, it's malfunctioning or something. I think we lost a few servers. Panic laced his voice, sending chills down Mia's spine. They had been discussing change, but now they were in a crisis. Everything felt fragile. What if this shattered their dreams before they could even begin to build them? She glanced at the CEO, searching his composed expression for a sign. Do we still have backups? He asked sharply. Yeah, but restoring them is going to take time. And this is just really not good, the programmer stammered, his fear palpable. Mia stepped forward, determination flooding her again. Let us work on the restore plan together. If we move quickly, we can keep everything on track. We will get it done. Her voice rang out, pulling attention. She was tired of being seen, just as the delivery girl. She was ready to prove she was more. The intern nodded in support, and slowly, Mia saw the glimmer of resolve spark among the other programmers. The urgency of the situation brought the team closer, pushing them towards a common purpose. Believing they could overcome this setback ignited something in Mia. If they could face down this challenge and rally for what they believed in, they could do anything. And with that rallying cry, her vision seemed not just possible, but inevitable. As they began organizing, she felt a strange familiarity with the urgency. The chaos felt like a fire that would either burn them out or forge them stronger. But amid the tension and stress, she felt that familiar flicker of hope. Maybe they could emerge from this even more united than before. But just as they seemed to find their footing, another crash echoed through the building. This time it came from a different direction, shaking the floor beneath their feet. What now? Someone whispered, dread creeping back into the atmosphere. Mia's heart raced once more. What challenge stood before them now? Would it push them even further toward their goal, or plunge them deeper into despair? As the commotion swelled again, she felt the stakes rise higher. The message was clear. Change rarely came easy, but they might just be on the brink of something amazing. How much were they willing to fight for it? Would this chaos bring them together or tear them apart? The questions hung thick in the air, clamoring for answers. Mia braced herself as another sound of shattering glass reverberated through the office. Panic rippled through the room, eyes darting like moths drawn to a flame. Who would be the next to jump in? Or would this chaos consume them all? There was no time to waste. The urgency felt like fire on her skin. Get everyone to the main area. The CEO barked, now clearly distressed, yet trying to maintain some semblance of control. She sensed the shift in authority, the desperation coding his commands. With steely resolve, Mia couldn't help but admire how the stigma of being just an intern had melted away for her momentarily. She was now part of the team, a voice that mattered. Guiding her coworkers with quick hand gestures, she urged them to move. We need to regroup, she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. If we stick together, we can sort this mess out. With everyone gathered, she could see the collective anxiety reflected in their faces. Mia felt the weight of their gazes, not just as colleagues, but as a unit bound by shared fears and fragile hopes. Each of them was fighting their own battle, and she was determined to lead them through this storm. Okay, listen up, she projected. We've got backups, but we need to strategize how to restore what we can while figuring out what has gone missing. As she spoke, the other programmers started nodding, inspired by the belief coursing through her. The energy in the room began to shift, that familiar flicker of hope igniting into a small flame. They might lose some data, but they weren't going to lose each other to despair. They needed to plan a battle strategy for the war they hadn't anticipated fighting today. Let us split up, Mia continued, feeling momentum rising. Alex and Sarah, you handle the server restore. Julian, you're on the firewall. The rest of us will monitor the network for any intrusions. It might just be someone testing our defenses. Her voice was steady, but a storm raged inside her. What if they failed? What if they fought and still lost? But looking around the room, she saw determination mirrored in the eyes of her teammates. They were strong, capable. They could do this. Just as they started breaking into groups, the lights flickered ominously overhead, plunging the office momentarily into darkness. Gasps filled the air, the command of her previous words edging into fear. And right then, it struck Mia it wasn't just about saving their work. It was about saving their dreams, their voices, their place in this company. Stay focused, she shouted. No matter what happens, we can't lose faith in ourselves. We're in this together. With renewed vigor, they dove into their tasks, fingers flying across keyboards, communicating far more than words could express. For Mia, this moment felt like a test of trial by fire. Each command she issued was backed by genuine passion, her adrenaline feeding into a growing sense of collective purpose. And yet, just as she felt they were gaining ground, a screen flashed overhead, showing a warning. Unauthorized access detected. The breath left Mia's lungs. Was it a freak accident, or was someone really attacking their system? What does this mean? Someone murmured. Mia's heart raced again, a new wave of uncertainty crashing down. They had fought so hard, but now there was a possibility they were being struck from the outside. The stakes had just been raised, and fear crept back into the atmosphere. What do we do now? She whispered beneath her breath, knowing the answer would require more than just courage. As the seconds ticked by, she understood that this wasn't merely a glitch. It was a wake-up call. How resilient were they really? She glanced back at her team, wondering if they had what it took to rise from the ashes, or if this was the moment the fire consumed them all. Stay sharp, everyone, she commanded. We can't just sit and watch. Let's fight back. But the real question loomed heavy. Would their combined strength be enough to shield them from the unknown threat? The clock was ticking, and time was rapidly slipping from their grasp. Mia's heart thundered in her chest as she watched her teammates start to disperse, fear blending with determination in their faces. The urgency in the air was palpable, like a storm cloud ready to burst. She quickly glanced at the screen again, its warning message glowing ominously like a beacon of impending doom. Alex, Sarah, what's the status on the server restore? Mia called out, forcing confidence into her tone. Every second counted. Working on it. Alex shouted back, his fingers rushing over the keys. There was no time for hesitation now. They were under attack, and every moment could make a difference. Mia moved close to Julian, who was huddled near the firewall, eyes glued to his monitor. We need to lock it down. If they're in, we can't let them disrupt everything. She urged. I know. I'm trying to isolate the breach, he replied, biting his lip in concentration. The lines on his forehead deepened. This was far more than diagnostics to him. It was their whole world at stake. She could see the fire in his eyes mirrored in everyone else's. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the office, jolting them from their tasks. A heavy thud against the door sent shivers racing down Mia's spine. What was that? A voice trembled from the corner of the room. Stay calm. We can't panic, Mia asserted, raising her hands to calm the growing unease. We're safe here. Remember, together. Focus. But inside, she felt the chaos seep in, threatening to snuff out the small flame of hope they had ignited. The lights flickered again, casting erratic shadows that danced ominously along the walls. Her thoughts raced. What if this was more than a system incursion? What if their office, their sanctuary, was under actual threat? Okay, team, I don't want to freak anyone out, but we need to consider all possibilities. Someone may be targeting us. The words spilled out before she could catch them, the tone spiraling the room into murmurs of concern. Should we call security? A voice asked hesitantly. Not yet, Mia replied, shaking her head. We need to handle this ourselves first. Let us concentrate on the digital threat. If we show weakness there, we'll lose everything. Each person nodded, breath steadying with renewed purpose. They were fighters now, not just cogs in a machine. The weight of expectation hung heavy, yet Mia felt a warmth bloom in her chest. They had each other, and that made them stronger. "Alex, I need you and Sarah to track the source of the breach," she instructed, her voice firm. "We had to find out if they're leaking any data. Julian and I will keep fortifying our defenses." "On it," Alex shouted, a hint of defiance igniting their spirit. Mia turned back to her screen, heart pounding as she began typing commands. Her fingers danced across the keyboard like they had found a new rhythm of pulse that connected each of them. If they were going to confront this head-on, they couldn't let fear take root. Just as she started cracking lines of code, a message popped up on her screen. It was clear, unmistakable. "We know you're here." Mia froze. A chill crept up her spine. She exchanged frantic looks with her teammates. "Who are they?" Julian whispered, his face tense. The uncertainty hit like a wave, crashing into every ounce of confidence she'd built. What kind of war were they fighting? "Let us figure this out," she urged, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. "We can't back down." With renewed cohesion, they dove deeper, hands flying, minds racing. But the question loomed like a shadow. Were they equipped to face this dark, unknown? Was the unity they had forged enough to withstand a threat from the depths of the digital abyss? Suddenly, the lights flickered once more, plunging them into deeper darkness. Mia grasped the desk, her breath caught in her throat. In that moment, she realized that there was no turning back. "Together, remember?" she whispered to herself. "We've got this." But the echo of her own words crystallized the doubt. Could their courage truly be enough? As the countdown began on the screen, Mia steeled herself for what lay ahead. A battle was brewing, and they were right in the eye of the storm. What awaited them on the other side of this veil of fear? Mia blinked as darkness engulfed the room, the muted whispers of her teammates filling the void. The flickering lights returned, but not before igniting shadows that twisted and elongated across the walls. The tension twisted in her gut. They were losing time. "What is the countdown for?" Julian asked urgently, eyes darting to his screen, the glow illuminating his worried expression. 15 minutes until the server locked down," Alex answered, typing swiftly. "If they breach, we could lose everything." A rush of words burst out of Mia's mouth. "We can't let that happen. We have to be ready." "Julian, how close are you to isolating that breach?" Julian shook his head but gave a determined look. "Almost there, just need." Another crash reverberated through the office, this one louder, more insistent. Mia's heart sank. What was happening out there? That thought was racing through everyone's minds. Each crash felt like a countdown, a warning. They couldn't afford distractions. The fight was right here, and their focus had to remain sharp. Just then, a wave of dread washed over Mia as she saw something flicker across her screen. A string of code she'd never seen before, a dark entity trying to worm its way in. She leaned closer, heart racing. "What the hell?" Julian caught sight of it too. "That looks like a backdoor protocol. They're trying to manipulate our systems from inside. Can you shut it down?" Mia asked, desperation lacing her voice. "I'm on it," he said, fingers flying. "But it's tricky. If I make one wrong move, then don't." Mia interrupted, her voice sharper than she meant. She felt her inner panic rise up, and a flash of fear crossed her mind. Were they even close to strong enough to face this threat? Suddenly, the room fell silent. The sounds of typing hushed as each of them sensed an impending storm. The flickering lights dimmed to a near blackness, casting a heavy pall. "Everyone all right?" Sarah called out, voice trembling slightly. Mia took a breath, choosing the strength she could find. "We are not alone in this. Together, right?" She looked around, meeting the eyes of each team member. Together, they echoed back, a fragile alliance in the eye of a storm. With renewed strength, they turned back to their screens. And just then, Mia's phone buzzed an unknown number. Curiosity piqued. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello. Hello, Mia. I trust you've been keeping busy." Her blood froze. "Who is this?" The voice was smooth, chilling. "You're getting close, but don't think you're up to the challenge. I suggest you tread carefully, Before she could respond, the call dropped. Heart pounding in her ears, she exchanged panicked glances with her teammates. What was that? Julian asked, brows furrowed in confusion. I have no idea, Mia said, fear gripping the pit of her stomach. But I think we just stir the pot. They were tangled deeper in a web of malevolence than she thought. It was no longer just a digital breach. It felt personal now. With the air thickening around her, Mia felt a sense of urgency sharpen their focus. Okay, we've got to move faster. Alex, keep tracking. Julian, keep working on that isolation. Let us shut them out before they get too cozy in here. As she turned back to her monitor, fingers trembling over the keyboard, dread hung in the air. What lay beyond the curtain of their digital defenses? Were they truly ready for the answers that awaited? Suddenly, the lights died again, plunging them into darkness. A whisper of fear threaded through her. What next? The clock was ticking, but who would be the first to break? Mia's heart raced. In the thick blackness, every sound amplified. She could hear their breaths, each one a reminder of how fragile their situation had become. Everyone, stay calm. Alex's voice broke through the silence, steady despite the fear simmering beneath it. Julian, how is that isolation coming? Not fast enough. I need a few more minutes, Julian replied, his voice strained. Mia's hands shook as she typed, the weight of their impending doom pressing on her chest. Let's try something. Can we create a flash file to lure them away from the main systems? Something shiny to distract them while Julian finishes? Good idea, Sarah piped up, tension giving way to a glimmer of hope. I can code something like that quickly. Mia nodded, even as doubt nagged at her. Would that be enough? She looked at her teammates, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of their screens. They were all in this fight together, every heartbeat thudding against the primal instinct to run. Outside, the commotion grew louder. She could hear voices now, argument mixed with the unmistakable sound of something breaking. Why was anyone stopping them? It felt like they were at the center of a whirlwind, caught in a battle far bigger than themselves. Let us move, Mia urged as her team began typing furiously, urgency fueling their fingers. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the entrance. It sent a shock through the group. Julian's focus faltered, his fingers halting mid-type. What was that? Mia's breath hitched. It sounded like they're getting inside. Alex's eyes darted toward the door, his jaw clenched. We can't let them reach our systems. They'll take everything. Sarah's voice trembled. What if they take us too? I mean, we can't let them find out who we are, right? Mia felt a pang of dread encompass her. It was one thing to protect data, but their lives? We will stop them, she declared, her own fear entwined with determination. We are more than just coders. We're a team. Together, we can outsmart them. The lights flickered again, and shadows danced ominously. Just as she was about to say more, an alert popped up on her screen. A notification she had never wanted to see. Warning, potential system breach detected. Mia's heart dropped. This is it, she whispered, feeling the space between them shrink with weighty anticipation. Julian, can you push back that firewall even harder? On it, he shouted, fingers dancing furiously across the keyboard. In that moment, Mia felt a surge of something resolve. Purpose? They weren't just individual programmers anymore. They were soldiers in a war waged behind screens. Almost there, Julian said, sweat beading on his forehead. Mia glanced at Alex and Sarah. They nodded, eyes steeled with determination. If we hold out just a bit more, we might turn this around. The door splintered under the force of another attack. The metallic sound mixed with the crackling tension in the air. Get ready, Mia shouted, adrenaline pulsing in her veins, just as the door burst open, revealing dark silhouettes moving into the room. The system started to glitch. Lights flickered and then she hesitated, the chaos in their environment blurring with uncertainty. What now? Time hung heavy in the balance. Would their efforts be enough? Or were they truly out of their depth? Mia's world spun as the shadowy figures stepped into the light, revealing faces she never expected to see. Could they really trust these new players fielding into their already chaotic game? Mia's breath caught in her throat as the figures emerged from the shadows, faces strikingly familiar, yet unexpected. They were former colleagues, people she had worked beside, people she once thought she could trust. In an instant, the room thickened with uncertainty. Mark? Emily? She gasped, unable to hide her shock. They had been part of the same team, a different project, a different goal. What were they doing here now, at the center of this looming disaster? Listen, Mark shouted, urgency biting through the air. We don't have much time. We need to merge our systems. Their attack is more advanced than anything we've seen. Alone, none of us stands a chance. Why should we trust you? Alex countered, stepping protectively in front of Mia and the others. His voice was low but steady. Last time we heard from you, you were working with the enemy. There was a flicker of pain in Mark's eyes, but it was overshadowed by determination. I know how it looks, but we've learned things. We know the weaknesses of their methods. We aren't here to fight you. We're here to help. In the shadows, the chaos outside escalated. The sound of heavy footsteps approached, echoing like an ominous drum. Time's running out. Emily urged, her voice fierce. We can either fight this war together or let them destroy everything. Do you want that on your conscience? Mia's heart raced as she scanned both groups. Their past differences hung heavy in the air, but the threat was immediate. Was this an opportunity or a trap? Are you in or out? Julian asked, glancing between the two teams. We can't waste any more time. Mia felt the weight on her shoulders deepen. They had to make a decision, and fast. We have 20 seconds. If we don't move, we'll all be trapped, and whatever they want, they'll get. It's now or never. We know our systems better than they do. With a collective breath, they all nodded, a moment of unity forming despite their differences. Trust was fragile, but it was all they had. Julian drew in a sharp breath. All right, Mark, Emily, where do we start? Follow my lead, Mark instructed, rapidly explaining how to link their systems. They began typing in sync, sharing screens, merging codes, drawing strength from the resolve that surged in the room. Each keystroke felt like a life buoy thrown in turbulent waters. But then, just as they thought they had turned the tide, the lights flickered violently again, plunging them into darkness. The chaos outside intensified, the crashing waves of sound pushing against their already frayed nerves. Keep going, Mia shouted, her heart pounding louder than the chaos around them. Trusting their instincts, they pressed on through the blackout, fingers flying over keyboards in a synchronized dance of desperation. Suddenly, the screens erupted with a flurry of alerts. They're breaching our firewall, Julian shouted, panic lining his voice. We can't hold them off much longer. Time felt like it was slipping through their fingers. Each beep and alert seemed to cut deeper into their resolve. And then it happened. The screens began to glitch, sending distorted shards of light across their faces. Mia's heart sank as she realized that not everything about the attack was countered. They needed a new plan, a bold move to reclaim their chance. Wait, Sarah interjected. What if we set a trap? Use their own code against them? We can redirect the hackers into a containment loop. That could work, Emily said rapidly, meeting Mia's eyes. But it's risky. If we make one mistake, Mia took a deep breath, her mind racing. We've come too far to back down now. As everyone rallied to form a new strategy, the shadows at the door loomed closer. They either needed to turn the tide once, and for all, or risk losing not just the data, but each other. Would their ingenuity be enough to outsmart the figures now advancing into their world? Or had they opened a door they couldn't close? Only a leap of faith would reveal the answer. Mia's heart hammered in her chest, thoughts racing faster than her fingers could type. Every glitch and warning on the screen felt like the world collapsing around them. The shadows shivered at the door, closing in, and time pressed heavy against her. Listen up, everyone, she shouted, voice cutting through the tension like a knife. We can't just sit here and let them take us down. We need to think on our feet. The determination in her tone ignited a fire in her team, their brows furrowed in concentration. As they worked together, An unusual solidarity formed a shared purpose wrapped in urgency. Okay, let us go for that trap idea. Mia pressed, her mind racing for specifics. We funnel them into a decoy, something that looks like a vulnerability, but really leads them into containment. We need to weave through their lines. Julian nodded, fingers flying across the keys. I can set up a fake pathway. If we can make it look appealing enough for them to take the bait, then I'll create a fake user profile for them to latch onto, Alex interjected. It might buy us some extra time. You got to keep them occupied. Mia, can you work on the firewall adjustments while we set up the decoy? Sarah asked, urgency glinting in her eyes. Absolutely, Mia replied, every ounce of her being humming with energy. They were no longer just the sum of their parts. Together, they were a force. Just as they began to implement their plan, the chaos outside erupted again. Shouts filled the air like a battle cry, underscoring the stakes. But inside the room, it felt like they were pushing through their own storm, ready to face down whatever came their way. 3 minutes, Julian warned, sweat glistening on his brow as he kept working. We have to move now. Suddenly, Emily's voice rang out like a clarion call. Switch on the decoy. Distract them. Mia felt the charge of anticipation as they flipped the switch. The screens transformed with new data and tempting false trails, begging their adversaries to take the plunge. A moment of silence fell, thickening as the bait settled. And then it happened, an immediate response flooded the screen. They took it, their probe is headed for the decoy. Nice work. Mia exchanged relieved glances with her team. But the battle was far from over. As they redirected and fortified, aware that every second counted, Mia's heart raced. Then, at that crucial moment, everything crashed. The lights flickered yet again, plunging the room back into darkness. Shadows loomed, almost tangible, as the mass of unrelenting pressure seemed to encapsulate every ounce of their courage. Mia felt panic rise in her throat. Julian, what is happening? His voice trembled as he responded, the surge is overwhelming the backup systems. We're losing control. They all knew what this meant. If they faltered now, everything they prepared for would crumble. Stay focused, she shouted, instinctively grasping the edge of the desk. We're the ones who drive this narrative. Let us tear down their facade together. We have to outsmart them. One glance at Emily and Mark's team filled her with a new resolve. They were no longer adversaries. They were allies in a battle where integrity mattered more than personal history. Let us synchronize our commands to fortify defenses together. Mark yelled, his eyes ablaze with determination. They can't overpower us with sheer numbers. Mia grasped the urgency in his voice and nodded. Absolutely. Everyone on my count, 3, 2, 1 now. With that, they fell into a rhythm, fingers tapping, eyes darting across screens, the chaotic atmosphere simmering into focused energy. The sound of keys echoed like a collective heartbeat. Simultaneously, they fortified their joint systems, melding codes, sharing strategies, encrypting points of vulnerability, forming chains that stood resilient and unwavering against the assault. Firewall is at max, Julian shouted, a layer of triumph infusing his voice. Let us push the breach out and keep it up. The first waves of incoming data began to fizzle and distort like stabbing fingers that couldn't grip onto solid ground anymore. Caution morphed into momentum. Every successful command brought them closer to victory. Push harder. We can win this. Mia bellowed, the words surging with unwavering conviction. Finally, the screens flickered into clarity, lights stabilizing. The metrics showed a significant turn. They had switched the tide, had turned inbound data into a self-destructing code that would eliminate the threat. As the last moments ticked by, their resolve cemented solid. Light covered the room, shadows and panic dissipating in a burst of cathartic relief. Mia let out a shaky breath as applause erupted around her. We did it! Together! She exclaimed, joy bubbling within her. Each member wore looks of triumph, victory riding on their shoulders. It felt surreal. They had stood the test, and emerged stronger, reaffirming their fire amidst chaos. But a new wave of reality washed over them. Would they ever be the same? Just then, the CEO stepped forward, eyes wide with admiration. "Mia, I didn't recognize your potential until today. You showed us what it means to stand for something. You have my commitment to implement the changes you proposed." Tears of joy glossed over Mia's eyes. Their journey wouldn't end here. And as they embraced, camaraderie thriving in the newfound bond, Mia surveyed her transformed surroundings. No longer merely a delivery girl, she had taken a leap not just for herself, but for a cause that mattered. Among her team, family, she felt the weight of doubt lift, replaced by hope and audacious dreams. "Together, we will continue this," she declared, their determination ringing true. Now, they were not just a team of programmers. They were pioneers on a mission to reshape an industry, a mission to fight back against exploitation and favor empathy. As they stood there, hand in hand, lending strength to each other, Mia made her vow. They would push boundaries, and this was only the beginning. As the screen flickered gently with a bright glow, Mia beamed. "Let us get to work." And as their laughter echoed throughout the office, the undeniable spirit of resilience hung thick in the air. This was the moment change began. This was their transformation, a new chapter crafted by each of their stories intertwined. But you, dear viewers, this is not just a story. It's a call to action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending Your Voice Matters. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Real fans understand the power of support. Let us keep this incredible journey alive together.